أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to my dearest speaker as well as distinguished members of the audience. My name is Safa Ahmed and I am honored to welcome you all on behalf of Fudayl Academy. Fudayl Academy was born from a vision steeped in dedication and piety and stands as a beacon of light for the Ummah. It was conceived with the noble intention of providing the Muslim community with a collection of profound programs and workshops that resonate deeply with the soul. And these endeavors are meticulously designed with the lofty aspiration of effecting a profound transformation within individuals, elevating their character to a state of dignity and honor. Our meticulously curated programs and workshops delve into various facets of personal development, spiritual enlightenment, and moral refinement. And each session is crafted with the aim of nurturing virtues such as humility, integrity, and gratitude. So at Fudayl, we understand that the journey towards self-improvement is a dynamic and a lifelong endeavor. So our offerings are also diverse and cater to a wide range of interests and needs within the community. So we will invite you to connect with us through our various platforms and on our Instagram page as well as our YouTube page so that you are timely connected with everything that our Academy has to offer. So in this auspicious gathering that we have gathered over here for this weekend, the Surviving or Thriving Embracing Mental Wellness Conference is an attempt to be dedicated to the vital intersection of Islamic teachings and mental health. In these unprecedented times where the challenges to our emotional and psychological well-being are more pronounced than ever, it is crucial that we come together to explore the profound wisdom of our faith and its application in the realm of mental health. So as we embark on this enlightening journey, let us remember that our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is often described as a mercy to the world, and his teachings encompass not only the spiritual, but the holistic well-being of humanity. Today, we will delve into many such topics, and one among them is which we are truly interested in, and we wish to extend a warm welcome to Sister Asma Khan, who is here to gain insights from her expertise and perspective today. Sister Asma is a dedicated mental health practitioner whose work is deeply rooted in an Islamic framework. Ms. Khan's journey has been marked by a profound commitment to understanding the interplay between faith, psychology, and the human experience. Asma Khan embarked on her path by immersing herself in formal Deen Studies, laying a solid foundation for her exploration into the realms of spirituality and psychology. This foundational knowledge served as a springboard for her deep dive into the comparative study of the world's major religions and their psychological dimensions, with a particular focus on Islamic traditions. Building on this, Ms. Khan pursued specialized studies in the psychology of religions, examining the intricate relationship between faith, spirituality, and the human psyche from a psychosocial lens rooted in Jungian psychology. This unique perspective allows her to offer insights into the profound ways in which faith shapes our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Currently, Asma Khan is in advanced stages of her doctoral-level training with the Ontario Association of Jungian Analysts. Is a testament to her ongoing commitment to professional development and her dedication to providing the highest quality care to those who she serves. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Asma Khan. We are eager to gain insights from her expertise and perspective today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sister. How are you doing?
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair for such a honored introduction, and I'm humbled. Thank you. So, let me begin from here. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. As you have already got my introduction, and today's topic is quite sensitive, so let's try to do kind of justice with it and engage with the topic. It's not only a topic but a concern, where depression has become quite common in our times and how it's affecting. So we'll have a look into what is actually happening there, and to have an insight, a compassionate insight into the person who is involved in, and how it may affect, have its effects on the marriage, right? So talking about depression, it's because the topic was quite sensitive and direct, like save your marriage. Like nobody has that solution for you, and the one who is in the situation understand it better than anybody else. Or the mental health practitioners do not have any, the key to the lock, but we do hold that container where we can contain the emotions of the person to make them feel heard and seen, to know the sensitivities of the issue, and to guide them through in the difficult situation where they're stuck, right? So how can depression affect somebody's marriage? Let's have a perspective on that. You might get a numerous perspective on it. To bring it again, I have a Jungian lens into looking into the human psyche. So I would be bringing that perspective into it if it may appeal to you. In couples where one or both partners are depressed, it can happen that both of them are into it, right? So the marital conflict is more likely. When depression hits, it alters the perception of the person. And what happens when the perception is altered? It causes negative viewpoints. There is more opportunity for conflict in there. A depressed spouse may say hurtful things, respond irritably in conversation, or simply ignore their spouse. What would happen then? Over time, the relationship begins to deteriorate. And unfortunately, in some cases, depression can increase the likelihood of divorce. Now, here the experts, the science and the research, says that it's not the depression itself that is causing the divorce. It's the consequences, actually. So the change in behavior or withdrawing from the partner or relationship, the negative viewpoints, all these are actually coming together and becoming the consequence, which may lead, unfortunately, to the divorce. Now, what's happening there? Like, if we look further into it, okay, this is a kind of a cycle, what's happening step by step, right? Depression is actually a spectrum. So a person can fall anywhere in the spectrum, from normal to pathological. What does that mean? All right. Okay. Normal is that it happens in everybody's life. We all feel on and off depressed in our lives, but it's not clinical depression, right? Or it's not pathological. So pathological is where we diagnose it based on clinical terms, based on DSM-5 mainly. And I would just briefly share the criteria of DSM-5 to have a glimpse on it. If it's falling under that criteria, if a person has those symptoms, then it would be clinical depression, and the person has to have medication along with psychotherapy, because psychotherapy always helps. How? We will look into it. So what is DSM-5 saying? Like, what are the major symptoms to know that the person is depressed, clinically depressed? There are 8 criteria, and if a person is having any 5 of these symptoms for a period of 2 weeks constantly, then it would be alarming, and we shall consider visiting a doctor, a psychiatrist. And one of these must be that a person is going through the depressed mood, or there's a lack of interest in anything or everything. Okay. So the first one is that, yes, the person has depressed mood most of the day or nearly every day. There is markedly diminished interest or pleasure in all or almost all activities most of the day or nearly every day. Third, there's a significant weight loss when the person is not even on diet, or there's a significant weight gain, or decrease or increase in appetite nearly every day. Fourth, there would be a slowing down of thought and a reduction of physical movement, which is observable by the third person, right? By the observers around. Fifth, there is fatigue or loss of energy nearly every day. Sixth, feeling of worthlessness or excessive or inappropriate guilt nearly every day. Seventh, there's a lack of ability to think or concentrate on something. Now, it's not normal concentration. It's hugely dissociated, okay? And that's there nearly every day. And the eighth one is there's a recurrent thoughts of death, recurrent thoughts of suicidal ideation. There might not be a specific plan, or there can be a specific plan there, right? So this is a criteria, and any 5 of these symptoms are there for a period of constant 2 weeks, along with one of the symptoms to be that there is major mood, depressed mood, or there's a loss of interest in anything or everything around for 2 weeks, right? So that would fall into pathological depression. One more thing to add, that depression is not just, it falls under, as it says here, it's really important to know it falls under serious mood disorder. Now, disorder is not like something is so wrong there. Disorder means it's not on the balance, like it's not moderate enough, right? So there's a huge fluctuation going on. So that's what we mean by disorder. So there's a huge wave going down or up. So there is kind of mood fluctuation happening there. And it is not simple sadness, okay? Because sadness, if we say, is a very normal emotion, as we say. We all feel it on and off. And there are triggers that make us sad, right? It can be a person, it can be a situation, it can be an event that has triggered us, right? But for a depressed person, there's no such trigger, okay? So a person suffering from depression feels sad or hopeless about everything. So such person may have every reason in the world to be happy, and that's what people criticize them for, like what's going on there, why you're sad and you're so ungrateful, you know, and you're not thankful to God, and all those criticisms are coming. Because for a depressed person, they have every reason to be happy, yet they lose the ability to experience that joy or pleasure in the moments, or in situations or along with people. And for example, if you're sad, you might feel a bit down a day or two, but you still enjoy simple things like watching your favorite TV show, eating food, enjoying or hanging out with friends. But that's not the case with depression. Even things you once enjoyed don't bring any happiness anymore. And when you're sad, you still can sleep, right? You stay motivated to do things, and you keep your appetite, right? In depression, that's not there. It actually gets really hard for the person to get out of the bed all day, right? When we look into this beautiful dua that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has taught us, I feel like it very beautifully captures the whole idea of depression, be it normal or pathological. There are 3 types of sadness in Islam. As we get to know from this dua, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-huzn, right? So huzn, gham, and ham, these are 3 types of sadness that we get to know about. Al-hammi is the sadness for something that may happen in future. So we are already sad about our parents going away from this world, or losing a loved ones, or a marriage that is deteriorating, and you can see it's going towards maybe divorce or something, something is there, it stays with you. So that is ham, that is a sadness for something that may come in future. Gham is that you are sad in the moment for something that has happened now and you're dealing with it. And huzn is something that has occurred, that may have occurred in the past, and you're grieving on that, right? So the depression can have its biological grounds, or psychological, or even social and cultural roots. When we look into it, as the dua is saying, we see that it's talking about the whole spectrum that we say can have varying scale for depression, right? So when we say Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazn, so we are seeking Allah's refuge from the worry and grief, like the sadness, what may happen in future, wal-ham wal-huzn, and the grief that has happened in the past. And the dua continues saying wal-ajzi wal-kasal, and from the inability to do things, right? And that's very much the effect of I would say it falls to an extent in the category of biological depression, that you are unable to do things in the long run. So you seek refuge that may Allah do not put us in that capacity where we are in the situation where we are not able to do simple things, right? So from al-ajz wal-kasal, kasal, laziness, procrastination. All right, so we procrastinate from something we know we need to do, but we can't, right? So that may fall in psychological, so it's on the borderline of biological, psychological. That's what I wanted to highlight. And from cowardice and miserliness, wal-jabni wal-bakhl, right? Now, cowardice can be better understood with its opposite. It's like not having the courage to face the dangers. Now, danger, something out there which we are scared of, right? Or in us, which we are scared of. And we are not finding that courage to face it, right? Al-jab. And bukhl comes very much with depression, where the person is going down and down deep into his or her own unconscious, introvert, and becoming introvert. The body language is the body gestures are becoming very mild and slowing down, and the person you can see the person is going in. So that state of depression, and even before that, when it hits, the person feels angry. The person feels kind of a miser. Why I have to give others? Why me? Why, those kind of thought process start coming up, that you're not getting anything. You're going down and down and down. You're kind of drowning, and you're giving whatever you have for your safety or for your survival to others. And وَذَلَتِ الدَّيْنِ وَغَلَبَتِ الرَّجَالِ, from being heavily in debt. That also happens. that can bring normal depression, that you may fall into debts. It can be that you may fall in future, or you're already in there in debts, or you have been, right? And that also brings depression, and because of the pressure around giving your debts away and being overpowered by other people of power in your culture, right? So that is really significant to highlight, that these all factors, and this is a beautiful dua, do bring it in your practice, and in every morning, every evening, and whenever you feel like you're going down into the dumps, you're going down with your emotions, and you're going in, and it's kind of, going like a spiral. Do remember this dua, and kind of attached to its meaning, feel its meaning. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الهم والحزن والعجز والكسل والجبن والبخل والدلع الدين وغلبة الرجال. Right? I mean, this is talking about the spectrum of depression, from the sadness, normal sadness, which may not be depression, but it might turn into depression, normal or pathological. We as Jungian analysts, in analysis, how we see depression, because you may find many perspectives on it. Now, what to do about it if you are having a depressive episode, if you feel like calling it. The depression on the normal spectrum is taken as a process of transformation. Something inside you is calling you. Something inside is calling you to meaning. Something is happening inside you, which is kind of unaddressed and needs your attention. So you are called naturally inside to go deep in, right? And many people find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the connection there. So it's a time of seclusion, no wonder, but it's really important to stay just kind of stay grounded, or not getting into the negative thought process that is stirred with depression. And even if it's pathological, these involuntary and forced introversion of thoughts are kind of paying in service to bring what's been missing in your life. It can be a feeling, it can be an emotion, it can be a trauma that is not being addressed. On a natural spectrum, it's a very lonely place to be, no wonder. If we try to define depression, it would come down to true loneliness. The person is truly lonely when he or she is depressed, even in the presence of the spouse, even in the presence of friends, company, family. It doesn't matter how hard you try to understand your state, or if it's in marriage, your partner's state. It's really difficult. And you feel like the person who is depressed feels like it's too complicated. Nobody can understand. Even I cannot understand myself, right? So it's not a very favorable place to be. But Shaitan also wants that, right? It's one of the tricks of Shaitan to take us and make us lonely. There is a difference in feeling lonely or actually being lonely. So even when this phase of depression is hitting, and you feel like nobody understands me, it's too complicated, Allah is yet there to understand, right? And also He make means. I'm not sure how common psychotherapy is in your country, but it really helps. And it's a medium. it's a wasila to use, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides us with these opportunities as well, right? So this is a kind of a depression is a kind of a hole, if you can imagine. It's going in and in and in like a spiral with no way out. That's how the person feels. There is no agency there, no kinetic energy to make the person do things. There's no energy or motivation at all. So it's not, if you are in marriage and your partner gets into depression, please know that it's not about you, right? That's what the person is experiencing. And if it's you feeling so, please do take help, okay? And just notice these points, and you're not supposed to be there alone, right? And you're not alone. Because there's a negative messaging in mind does not mean it's a reality, okay? Depression holds us down, and that's the image of depression. That it pulls us down, like the head literally goes down, and the body gesture and everything goes down, right? And the person doesn't find anything to get to keep from drifting away and rise up from this place of that feels like hell to our own minds, of like to the minds of the depressed person during depression. There's such a negative thought process going on that you yourself don't like it. So where is it going? This spiral thought, where does it take the person? What he or she thinks or what this state looks like. The energy that is supposed to go out is not going out and going in. It's reversing. And why is that happening? From the Jungian lens, we say that there is something in you that is calling your attention. Most probably it's a trauma that is unaddressed, or it's some recent happening, some incident, something has triggered you, and triggered you about something that happened already. It has its deep roots inside your psyche. It can be your trauma. It can be intergenerational trauma. And there's a huge negative thought that, like a hamster wheel, the negative thought process goes on and on and on, right? And it takes the person back to the crossroads when they were taking decisions. For some people, they can't connect to that crossroad. For many, it's unconscious. So those crossroads, which usually goes to very early childhood, where the person was taking decisions about certain thing and the current incident has triggered it, or in clinical depression, there is a phase. For example, I know a person who goes into depression from March till October. Every March to October, it hits the person. And their history tells that there was two so intense and unaddressed that it became a clinical depression, and the person could not deal with it solely with psychotherapy. They need to have medication along. So just to highlight what may happen there. And for some, we have observed that there is this crossroads. They go back to this point of decision making where when it was happening. And they felt like, okay, I'm a loser. I can't do that. I'm not good enough. And you develop some kind of grudges towards life, towards people, towards attitude, and that thought process get intensely tied up, knotted when the depression hits. When you're in psychotherapy, we talk about those crossroads. We go back into those crossroads and try to redefine them. And that helps, actually. And as you can see in this picture, it's taking this person back to his childhood and redefining how they're putting up the puzzle back again. So it's kind of redefining your own sense of life, your worth, your meaning, your existence, and the meaning of relationships around, right? So that this image kind of beautifully defines that, and its name's Broken Soul by John Holkoff. So the broken soul, that's what it is. We lose connection with our soul. A depressed person is lost in his or her own being. Lost is a vague term. We would say has lost connection with their own soul. And how can we know that? In Jungian analysis, we give a lot of importance to dream symbols, right? So if a person is having dream, for an example, now these are not like always like that, but these are just like some symbols, or at times may reflect too. So if a person sees being frozen, or frozen lake outside the window, something like that, or being stuck somewhere in a tunnel where you can't see the way out, or maybe walking in mud. These are kind of symbols that tell that the person is depressed. Depressed means stuck in that negative thought process and can't see the way out, and the energies, the agency, the energy is going in instead of going out, right? And the complexes arise. These images tells about the complex feeling, the cluster of feelings where where the feelings and emotions are getting clustered. I would say that's what we call a complex from Jungian lens. From there arise these images in the dreams usually. And it can vary from, it's not necessarily a person there. It can be anything, like an apartment, a complex, or it can be a home or a strange place, or you may see people, strangers, known, unknown. So everything helps to know what is happening inside, because energy is going in. So what's happening inside the dreams really help us to understand that, or to know that. Yeah. So coming back to depression, it's not something you know or you can control. Depression happens to you. The energy goes in, like you cannot make it. You know you have to do certain things and you can't make it. You cannot focus, and the head is full of nasty thoughts. Energy is going in. And this energy needs to go out. Now, that's what needs to be done, right? So the Jungian approach to it here is, okay, this is telling something about you. It's not meaningless. It's not useless. If we take it as that. What is going on there? Take it as a road sign. That thought process, that cluster of feelings, that going down and then take it at the road sign. Surah Taha, verse 124 says that وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ. So that whoever turns away from my remembrance, indeed he will have a depressed life. Now, dhanka, if you understand that, now it doesn't mean that the verse is not saying that if you're turning away from Allah's remembrance, that's when depression happens only, right? But it is conveying the message that Allah's remembrance help us in our lowest times as well, right? And that distressful feeling of left alone, as we define, that you are alone and there's nobody around who understands you. That is a state when we are getting away from the remembrance of Allah. Even in the state of depression, where we are going in, where we feel stuck, there's a negative thought process going on, Allah's remembrance help us there, right? And in Jungian analysis, or from the perspective of Jungian psychology, there's a quote that says that when we suffer from lack of psychic energy, right, so we say we have a depression or an inhibition, not realizing that part of our mental hierarchy, understand the mental hierarchy, it has to connect somewhere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? When in mental hierarchy, it has one a way beyond our control, that we have in fact lost our soul. So we lose connection with our soul, and the soul is something that connects us with Allah's presence, right? So that is with the remembrance of Allah, we kind of remain in presence of our soul, even in depression, and that helps us to get out of it, right? Now, how to get out of it? How to have this energy go out instead of going in? Salah, wasta'inu bis-sabri was-salah, right? So seek help. Now, it doesn't say help just from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, primarily from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens further door for you. One of those doors is this live session, this session that you're seeing or watching or hearing, right? Take it as a sign, right? So with patience, the results won't come drastically. Like you talk to somebody today, you make a dua today, if you're still feeling low or down, you're like, no, I'm done. It's not helping. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing that can be done. There's no way out, right? No. Wasta'inu bis-sabri was-salah. Patience. And the salah. Don't go into salah with grudges or with the occupied mindset already. There's a lot going on in the head. There's a lot going on inside your emotions. There's a chaos that you're feeling. Put that aside for a while and go into salah, right? So have patience. Have a talk to yourself. Sit down with yourself that, okay, what can I do about that? Can I leave it for a while? Maybe I don't understand what's happening. Maybe that's not how it is actually. Just feel that vulnerable side and let it go for a while. Feel vulnerable and go into salah. Get into that state of communicating with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you're Arab, well, good enough. If you're not, try to understand the meaning of salah, what it means. It will help you to connect, right? And that brings optimism, having or pushing the positivity in the times of turmoil or distress, right? We have an example of a situation that may cause distress from the social and cultural perspectives. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was given he was called with distorted names, and he so beautifully just pushed that thought aside and so beautifully addressed it to his Sahaba that subhanAllah, what a quite genius thinking of him. The Prophet ﷺ flipped the thought process, the propaganda that was going on to malign him, to distress him, to curse him. And he turned it into, he said, I'm Muhammad, whatever they call me, but I'm Muhammad. Like, I know myself, right? That's like having a grounding. Similarly, we all can strive to think in an optimistic way in the situation that harm us emotionally or distress us or drag us down into the dumps, right? Or just triggered us, something has triggered us. We can have a moment, talk to ourselves, bring the optimism or push it in, even if it's not coming. And that is what faith is. That is what Iman is. That is what we say having strong grounding is. If you lose it, do take help because it's somewhere in you. It's in you. You just have to find it back or reconnect with it, right? And walking, going out in nature, that really helps. You have to connect. If you're or your partner is so much distressed or in depression, bring plants in your home. Or keep a cat, maybe, right? If you can't go out, because not every country not everybody has those circumstances of having having access to fresh air in every season, right? So if you are stuck in any such kind of environment or circumstances, try to bring the nature into your home and access to the person who is depressed. That really helps. I just wanted to share one of the letters by Carl Jung, who is the founder of depth psychology that I'm training in. And he was a psychiatrist and psychologist, a psychotherapist, and developed this wonderful technique of dealing mental health issues and concerns, which I find very close to the spirit of Islam. He once wrote a letter to a person who was depressed. And that's very close to what we have already talked about in the light of Islam, right? And once again, I would want to highlight, as Carl Jung is also saying it here, that this is what I think can be done, but this is not the only way of dealing it. And the answer is already there in you. You just have to connect back to it. So he says that, first off, by acknowledging, if your partner is depressed, we don't understand that, you don't maybe understand that, and you're very angry and aggressive about the situation, but we have to start with acknowledging, I'm sorry to know that you're feeling so miserable, right? Depression, and the letter says, depression means literally being forced downwards. It's kind of acknowledging the state the person is in. This can happen even when you don't consciously have any feeling at all of being on top, right? So it might be getting clinical here or pathological. Now, what he suggested he would have done, which I think I would do, as I shared, bringing nature in home. If I don't have access, you can have your own instincts telling you what to do. I would seek out 1 or 2 people who seemed amiable and would make myself useful to them. So be of service, do something that can help somebody so that this energy that's going in can go out. I would raise animals and plants and find joy in their thriving. So maybe you are at surviving and not thriving. So find that energy around so that you can hook onto that, right? And find joy in its thriving or in their thriving, and then connect back to your soul. That helps. And the letter continues, I would surround myself with beauty, no matter how artless it is. It can be an object, it can be a color, a sound. People keep little fountains around them, or the birds, right? Or colors, colorful painting. They can be different things that catch your attention or you find beautiful. Surround yourself with beauty, whatever it means to you, no matter how negative you're feeling. So the beauty would bring positivity. Take care of your diet, keep hydrated, eat well, even if you don't like doing it. And when the darkness grows denser, that's the time where you have to not fear it, you know? والعجز والكسل. And اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الهم والحزن, and the cowardice, right? Al-kasal, the laziness of not being able to do, and wal-jubn wal-bukhl, jubn, the cowardice, right? Not having that courage to face the danger. Take refuge from there. So when you're going in, feel the jubn and say, take refuge from it and face it. And know that you're not alone. You can always take help to not be alone in that state, to be with those who understand or who can understand what you're trying to say about these feelings in dungeons and what it is trying to convey to you, right? Engage with it. Take the message and try to pull yourself out from it, right? Not easy to do on your own. That's a disclaimer, right? Okay. And when you're able to do that, you would try to, get out of it. So the point here is not like fix it. No, the point here is this feeling is genuine. We all feel it on and off somewhere in the spectrum. It can get denser in certain times and moments. And whatever state you are in, don't do it half measures, as Carl Jung said in his letter to this depressed person, or with half-heartedness. Be fully available, be connected to your heart and feelings and emotions, whatever they are telling you, and try to take the meaning out of it. Don't make them meaningful, because it's a negative thought process going on. They're not meaningful in itself, but they are conveying some meaning that cycle has created around, right? But whatever state you're in, love yourself, take care of yourself, and engage with your state with full-heartedness. Remain connected to your soul. Don't leave it alone. Don't lose it. And the remembrance of Allah would be there to have that grounding, right? So that is a glimpse from my side on depression, how it may feel like to the person who is into it, because depression happens to the person and the energy goes in and it has to go out, right? And it can be quite getting back to from where we started. If it's happening in marriage, it's quite deteriorating, right? And that this whole cycle of negative viewpoint. So if your spouse is in that, you can understand what may be happening. And it's not about you. If you are into it, you need to know how it feels like. And there's always a way out. You're not alone in there. And have that passion for yourself to get out of it with the compassion for you, for the state that you're in, right? Okay, so we'll take the question and answers now.
Yes, sister, I will be sharing the screen and the questions will be posed to you and you can then answer appropriately, inshallah. Let me share my screen. Okay. The first question is how to overcome father's death.
Okay. As we talked about sadness and depression, of course, losing a loved one is a huge, huge setback or a trigger to go deep in. And maybe we need to go deep in for a while and take our time, right? But it depends on how we're trying to cope up with it. So I think the word overcome might not help here, because I don't think we can ever overcome this feeling of losing a loved one or a parent, right? But what does happen is that we learn how to live with it, right? How to make peace with it. And there might not be one right answer there, that how can you make peace with it and live with it, like live along with that feeling. But something that I can suggest, which I might do, is to cherish the memories. Cherish your memories about the good times you had together, the smiles that you shared together, and share those feelings, those moments with your family members, and cherish your relationship for that, and cherish those moments, and that brings some consoling. And also to continue the legacy, what he was doing or wanted to do or was passionate about, or the people he loved or cared about, care for them, continue his legacy. And whatever good you do, make the niyyah, the intention, for the reward for him as well, that it may reach him as well. And do acts of sadqa jariyah, where the reward is, the hadith tells us that the reward reaches the person. And engage with those feelings, embrace those feelings. And this is, being Muslims, we know this is just a departure for a while. That while may feel longer, but the Quran says once we are out of our graves, it would feel like a day. Our life would feel like a day or a half. So it's just a departure for a while, and you would meet again. Let's hope we meet again to our loved ones in good faith, inshallah, in good state, inshallah.
Ameen. All right. The next question is, how do I know if I'm suffering from any mental issue?
Okay. First off, why to have that curiosity of knowing that if I fall in mental health concern?
Right.
Yeah, but keeping that aside, There is a very good book by Gabor Mate on new normal. So he talks about that we all actually fall somewhere on the spectrum. So if I rephrase it, the concern can be that, okay, when should I know that, okay, now I need help. I can't do it on my own. That can be a concerning point. And you can know it that, okay, I can't deal it on my own. I need help. I need to talk to somebody. Somebody who is an expert in understanding it or getting me out of it is when it is when your mental state or emotions are becoming a hindrance to your day-to-day life. You're not able to live your day-to-day life as you're as you do or you're used to doing things, right? And everything is, you feel like messing up, not happening, or out of control, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. When does one start preparing the children for marriage? Because what we see today, the massive rise in the number of separations, clearly shows that there's something lacking in the understanding of the concept of marriage to begin with. I really hope this isn't irrelevant.
No question is irrelevant. So talking about the concept of marriage and preparing your children, I appreciate, as the person has said, that there are concerns that something is lacking in the understanding of the concept of marriage itself. Yes, that's the point. But we cannot convey that through words, maybe, I believe. Like, how would we prepare them and talk about it? Because the kids learn from observation more than the words. So children are observing from day one how their parents are living, right? And if the parents, no, nobody has ideal relationship, and there can be a single parent as well. So you have to, and they observe then how you dealt with it, right? Or you are still in trauma, or you're still in that grief and carrying it on, then why children would want to get into that, right? Because they carry part of your emotion. And then they look around, and even if you're a single parent, how satisfied you are that if it happens, if it works out, well and good, and it may not work out for some. So how much you have healed from it. So coming back to the point of preparing the children for marriage, they are being prepared since childhood. So how would you prepare them? Is by being an example of the person who is thriving, not surviving in their own state, in their own status. Being married, happily married, not happily married, or divorced, or whatever state, right? That's my perspective on it. There can be many answers to that.
Sure. Okay, yeah. The next one is how to deal with trauma after a divorce.
Right, relevant to what I just said, that trauma. Okay, divorce and trauma, let's relate them. Trauma is not something that happened. The divorce itself is not trauma, right? Otherwise, every person would go through that. Trauma is actually, or I think, the experience of the incident. So how you're experiencing divorce is traumatic, right? And it sure is a huge perspective shift that we go through, which causes a trauma, because the life that we once idolized breaks down into pieces in front of our eyes. And it's nothing as we thought of. Maybe it's been a lot abusive within the relationship, and you're trying to recover and get out of it. So a lot happens in marriages, and then it leads to divorce, right? divorce is one thing, and dealing with trauma is related, but kind of having its root deeper into person's own vulnerability and sensitivity towards dealing with a situation which was kind of in control when you got into it, and now it's shattered and not there anymore, and you're trying to gain back your sense of meaning in life. So that would help, connecting back to your soul and finding your meaning again, redefining your meaning again, without that person in your life. So that is quite traumatic in itself, to find or connect back to your meaning or who you are now, but you can recover from it, inshallah, by connecting to your own soul and center, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah. How to deal with a husband bad-mouthing my parents?
I'm sorry you have to go through that verbal abuse, and it's quite distressing in itself to know that. One thing I would want to add, that the natural reactions in such situations excuse me, are at times passive or aggressive. Passive is when we keep quiet, we don't want the argument to escalate. We don't want to, mess up the environment of the home for the sake of children, for the sake of this and that. So we turn passive. And it gives a sign of maybe forgiveness or letting go, and it keeps on happening again. Then there are moments when we turn aggressive to these incidences. We show our anger, frustration. We say things in return, in response, and it escalates the situations again, right? So either way, you might have gone through both of them. But what I suggest is try assertiveness instead, where you have to keep the calm, but convey your emotions, not anger. You have to convey how hurtful it is, how you feel about it, how you don't want him to bring them into this. And in your side, look into the triggers as well. And I'm not sure how common is psychotherapy in your circumstances, but if there are anger issues, if that is common thought process, some cultures have this rough, some families have this rough kind of, dealing styles. But this has to break at a certain point, and you can be that point. That's okay. So try to get the person or get your husband into therapy for a while to deal with this frustration. And on your own, you can try assertiveness. Don't turn passive. It's like in between passiveness and aggressiveness. Keep your calm. Keep quiet at that time. Maybe convey later, but do convey that how angry it makes you, or how hurtful you become, or how damaging it is to your relationship.
All right. And the last question for today would be, how do we overcome feelings of jealousy of other people's lifestyles that are against Islam? And sometimes I find that I get depressed because I feel restricted and I want a different life for myself.
Okay. We do ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first off, if we deal with the point of jealousy of this question, and then we'll see if it's going against Islam. Okay, that's another part of it then. We can envy others. We can pray for them, for their success, for whatever they have, halal. And we can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it, for ourselves as well. And there's a beautiful dua that we do, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً. وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. So in hasana, in the halal domains, right? But if it's going against Islam and you're feeling kind of, then there's a guilt, then there is a split in you, there's conflict in you in itself. And then, as you say, if you're wanting a different lifestyle, then the verse of the Quran says, "Udkhulu fis silmi kafa." Enter into Silm, this peace, this religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this lifestyle, completely. And as we talked about, the mental health requires doing things with wholeheartedness, not half-hearted. You'll always remain in conflict. So if you want to be a practicing Muslim, if you cherish that part of your identity, you have to embrace it fully. Udkhulu fi silmi kafa. And temptation and true pleasure, there's a difference. It can be a temptation and maybe you can control it after a while. So these are temptations. Do look further into what's temptation, where is it coming from, how to deal with it, and true pleasure, if these temptations have true pleasure or not, or if these bring true pleasure to these people or not. Look into the real lives of these people, right? Yeah. That's from my side. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for taking the time to share your knowledge and insights today. It's been a privilege to hear from you, especially on the Jungian approach, which is something very new to me, and I'm sure to most of our audience, and we are actually trying to get more to know about it, inshallah. The talk really resonated with all of us, and we pray that, we learn a lot from it, and it has benefited everybody who has been involved in this conference. May Allah grant us the wisdom and insight to navigate through these discussions and make our collective efforts to be a means of illumination for those who seek solace and understanding. And may He bless our endeavors and grant us the strength to continue serving our communities with empathy, love, and unwavering faith. We ask Allah to illuminate our hearts with the desire to learn His Deen and embark on a journey of knowledge with sincerity, consistency, and noble intentions. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.